We are touching the hearts of our seniors for the 12 Days of Goodness on the Answers for Elders podcast network. Get to know what we're up to this season of 2021. And welcome everyone to the holidays as we are here in the month of December during the 12 Days of Goodness in Seattle. And certainly for all of you that are listening on our podcast network across the country and across the world, we wish each and every one of you the happy holidays. And a little bit about what we do here in the Pacific Northwest is Answers for Elders has a program called 12 Days of Goodness. And the 12 Days of Goodness exists for one purpose. We go for 12 days in the month of December, and we're all about touching the hearts of seniors by teaming up with the Seattle Seahawks legends. And as a result, we have had an opportunity to touch the hearts of thousands of seniors, as we are doing right now, going on. And last weekend, if you want to catch a little bit of information, you can go to last weekend's podcasts and learn a little bit more about how we work with the fans, how we work with the different types of organizations that help us put this major event together along with the Seattle Seahawks. And obviously, one of the biggest things we're doing this year post-pandemic is we have a very special award that is about to be given. And that award is named after one of our most beloved players here in the Puget Sound area, because not only was he a former Seattle Seahawk, but he was also a former Washington Husky and helped us win the Rose Bowl one year, which was a very big deal. And so we have an award called the Nesby Glasgow Essence Award. And that is to honor someone that might be that unsung hero that has been there tirelessly in the service to seniors. And this show is all about that unsung hero. The part of Nesby that you guys may, as our listeners, may not necessarily know who he was. And so we are honored today to have Nesby's 3 adult children with us. And we're going to celebrate Nesby this hour on everything that he was to our community, to the world, and as a professional athlete, and most importantly to these 3, how Nesby was as a dad. And so I am very honored to have, of course, Nesby's son, Nesby, Nesby's son, Brandon, and Nesby's daughter, Nicole, all 3 with us. Welcome, everyone.
Hey.
Thanks. Happy to be here.
Well, we're glad you're here too, because obviously, you know, it's been a sadness in the fact that when your father passed away, like it's been a year now, hasn't it? It's been like since February of 2020, right?
It's almost 2.
So almost 2 years. And that was about the same time that the pandemic hit. And I remember the last time I saw your dad, as a matter of fact, there was a lot of memories yesterday because we started our 12 Days of Goodness program at North Shore Senior Center in Bothell. And that's the last time I saw him. It was at our, like one of our very final events in 2019. So it would have been just like a couple of months before he passed away. And I remember he was so incredibly weak. And I said to him, Nesby, are you sure you're okay? Because he just couldn't even stand for very long because he was so weak from the cancer. And what I said to him, are you sure you're okay? And he goes, yes. He goes, I need to be here. I want to be here. And when I pushed him a little bit more about, how, I don't know if you could, if you're capable of doing this. And he's like, I'm fine. In other words, I've got more gas in the tank. Don't think I'm a professional athlete. This is what we do when we feel like we're in too much or something has happened, we can always find more. And I always thought about that saying. And I am interested to have you guys' thoughts on Nesby and growing up. How did he develop that philosophy to become that champion and find that? What do you guys think? Brandon, do you want to start and kind of give us your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I think for starters, I mean, growing up in the era he did and when he did. He was the youngest, one of the youngest out of a big family.
Mhm.
He had one brother, and he had the rest were sisters, and they were tough. They were very, very, very tough. And he was scared of me. He used to tell me some of them, couple, they'll whoop him. But growing up where he grew up, there weren't a lot of the options, and sports was one thing that he was able to excel in and shine. And from an early age, as soon as he just kind of got an opportunity to do that and picked it up, he fell in love with the sport is basically how he told us, and along the way, there's so many, stories of like that are just so interesting in terms of like, up in the sports. I mean, playing from that age and being that good and focusing on that is like, this is my option, my way to change my family's life and help stuff. And he always had a big heart in the beginning, though. That was something that I remember. It stuck with him. And I think that was just, he was around good people, good coaches. And, our grandma instilled in this family is super important. She always talks about that, like, and I think that gave him great grounding, the confidence as a child, confidence is so key. At least he had that backing. It was just, his mom, for the most part raised him, didn't really know his dad as much. They moved up from Louisiana and settled in California and, had the rest of them, had him. And from there, they kind of just started, building their life there when they still have the same spot and everything.
Yeah. Now, what birth order was Nesby in the family? Was he the youngest? Did you say where was he?
He was in
yes,
the
Nicole.
middle. He was
the middle.
Yes, there are 4 older than him. He's the 5th.
Wow. So how many total kids are there in his family?
9 kids total.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So large family.
Yeah.
And he
sisters.
grew up in Southern California, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Like what area in Southern California?
Well, Compton and then Linwood, which are just like neighboring cities. So
got it. So tough area. And also, but yet he took the good route, he was an amazing kid. And of course, went to the University of Washington. And Nesby, you, as your memories of your dad, what do you remember about his childhood?
I just remember him talking about like his playing days and just always being the smallest and always wanted to prove himself. Like if somebody was supposedly the bigger, stronger person, he would pick that person and, try to go at them and, see if they really were the strongest. That was always his mentality. And then when somebody said, "Oh, I don't think you could do something," he believed he could, he would go and attack that, full force, just go as hard as he could. That's just always the way he's been. And he just always talked about that all through high school, like as far as being like accountable for certain things that his coaches would ask. He always wanted to be that guy like, "Hey, let's put Nesby in because I know he can cover that guy, or he could he could take that guy."
He'll give not only 100%, he'll give 120%.
Yeah, that was sort of always his thing growing up, was just like, "Hey, I'm going to be, I'm going to be counted upon to do whatever I have to do to help my team win," was always his thing.
Yeah. So Nicole, do you remember as a daughter, as a daddy's girl, that has to be a very unique relationship with a dad like yours.
Yes. It set a really high bar for most other gentlemen in the world that I had to later meet. So
I can only imagine.
But yeah, when it comes to my dad's childhood, I first and foremost have to mention his mom. Like, my grandma is amazing. She, for a good portion of the time, was raising my dad and his siblings on her own. And her energy is someone who just like, she never doubts what her children can do and who they are, in a way that I think my dad, that confidence that Brandon spoke about, that's what gave him that confidence. That's what gave him that drive to say, like, I can do this. Like my mom said I could. Like she told all of us they could. And he had those sisters supporting him. So family was huge. And I think with football, that just becomes another family. And my dad had just in his home life been taught how important family was. And so when he played it, he wasn't giving up because essentially everyone there with him was family. And I think he just had just starting out early, just on the teams that he was in. I remember him pulling out a picture of like his Pee-wee football team. And it was like, I think probably like 6 of them at some point played in the NFL. It was just like a very competitive world that he grew up in. And he didn't give up. He didn't look at another kid running fast or being bigger than him. And I think that was huge. And that kind of set him on the trajectory of where he went.
It's interesting when you say that, because we a while ago ran some interviews with our Seahawks legends on who's the senior that has most inspired you in your life. And guess who your dad picked?
Who?
Your grandma.
Mommy. Yeah, I knew his mom.
And he told an amazing story. I mean, it was one of our best interviews, but it really instilled to me, boy, oh boy, she was a force to be reckoned with to keep him on the straight and narrow. And he was just so much of a joy but he would talk about her in such reverence, I guess is the word that I want to say. She definitely inspired him every day, and you could really tell. And that's an amazing thing, to have that kind of a legacy with your children. And I think that's probably an example that he's probably took on himself to make sure that he inspired that legacy on with you guys as well. Wouldn't you say that's true?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. It reminds me of, if you've seen the movie King Richard.
Yes.
How he believed like his kids. Like he had that type of belief, and it gave them confidence, and it gave him confidence. So it was interesting, like watching that and seeing them being like it brought back memories of him and his stories and stuff.
Wow. And we are going to talk a lot about Nesby this hour, and I am looking forward to all of you listeners to get to know him, what he stood for, and a little bit more about the very special award that's going to be given out on December the 22nd. That will be live streamed, and we will get more back to you on that information right after this. This podcast was brought to you by our sponsors, Humana and Care Partners. We are so grateful for your sponsorship, as well as all the senior providers that came forward to make our events happen over the 12 days of goodness. To each and every one of you, have a happy holiday season 2021.